Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I'm female, 34, and family has a long history of running cattle ranches in Indiana. We've been doing it since my great grandfather migrated here, and now we own over 3,500 acres of land for raising cattle and growing crops. I know a lot of you all on Reddit don't get this kind of lifestyle, but I and my husband are deeply passionate about it, and that has been greatly appreciated by my family, who are also a bunch of ranch hands. My sister Deborah, female, 32, though looks at all of this with a lot of disdain. Both of us went to Indianapolis for college, where I did a degree on agricultural sciences, and she did a degree in geography. While I respect city life and don't put it down, my heart belongs here in the big old plains of the country. Deborah, though, was taken in by the fast-paced nature of everything Indianapolis had to offer and made it her sole mission to move out of state and set her sights even further on New York City. I won't lie, the family, myself included, was a bit harsh to her when she told us that she had her life set out for this path. But at the end of the day, a bird's got to leave the nest, right? Our grandfather passed away in 2009, and in his will gave me and Deborah every 450 acres of land to build up our own ranches. I and my husband were really taken aback by this gesture and respected the fact that Grandpa had respected us enough to give us such a direct role in the family's ranches and expansion. So we got to work, and currently we have some of the nicest pastures in the Great Plains. The neighboring acreage was my sister's, and she treated it as if the world's worst burden had been thrown on her. Due to Grandpa's death, she postponed her outward journey to New York City, where she had bagged an offer to work for some petrochemical company, and complained about it constantly. At the time of Grandpa's death, I had to not only deal with the loss of a beloved family member, but also work out how to set up my ranch, get good cattle, make a network with the vets and experts in the area, and more. My husband was my rock throughout all of this, and I couldn't have done it without him. Deborah, I think, reached out to some company that assesses your land for oil and gas and ends up selling it for you. Kind of like a real estate agent for big mineral deposits. She did this in August 2009, barely a few months after getting the land, and with no effort to try and cultivate or grow it. Again, while this went against everything we stood for in the family and was disrespectful to Grandpa, in my opinion, we didn't deny her the right to do it or treat her poorly like we did before, because we understood that times are changing and Deborah wanted to do things differently. That was all in the past, and Deborah lives in New York now. As I said, I and hubby have done a good job with our ranch and are quite well off. The only eyesore for us is the big mining project that Deborah's ranch has become, but that doesn't affect us too much. As the company knows protocol well and doesn't overuse our shared resources. From our family get-togethers, I can make out that my sister isn't making it big in the city and is stuck in the middle, struggling every now and then to move her way up the career ladder. There's a lot of office politics there, and back home it was just down to your hard work and support from your family. A month or two ago, my husband came to me distraught and revealed a big secret. Deborah had basically stolen $15,000 from him by telling him that she had discovered an old document that redefined the boundaries of our shared property, giving her ranch, or should have been ranch, 100 extra acres. She then emotionally manipulated him into paying her money, since she should have earned more from selling off her share of the land. She took $15,000 for now and said she'll take more as well. I was shocked and also kind of annoyed at my husband for not telling me. He's a big sweetie and didn't want me forming a negative opinion of my sister, and basically footed the $15,000 out of his savings. Furthermore, he didn't even do any more digging into the issue, which I definitely would have done. Where in the world did Deborah get access to this document, and what kind of weightage did it have? I asked him to show me the chats through which Deborah had blackmailed him, and there was a scan of the document there. It was a land survey from 1895 and did show the land to be encroaching over ours. But I mean, there's no way this would stick, right? My anger was mounting at this point, and I needed to get to the bottom of this. I ended up asking a relative of ours about it. He's a lawyer, but not a heartless one. And he said that if we can prove that Grandpa combined the adjoining properties when he had bought it, not only would my 100 acres be safe, but I could also probably throw Deborah's sale of her share into a lot of legal stuff. With that in mind, I asked Grandma if I could have a look at Grandpa's property papers and saw that he had ended up combining the land, which Deborah and I got in his will. So her whole logic of coaxing money out of my hubby was on shaky ground, basically hovering on a pile of BS, never mind shaky. I told my husband about this, and we decided that we'd calmly confront Deborah about it when she comes over for Thanksgiving. She arrived a week before the dinner, and hubby and our extended family were all staying in Dad's large ranch as a way to have some fun family time as well. Cousins, little kids, everyone was there. And while I would usually love the chance to hang out with all of my clan like this, Deborah's behavior at this time was exhausting. Okay, so firstly, she would not stop talking about New York. Every other sentence of hers was, "Oh, in New York, they do it like this." Or, "Back in New York, everyone shits gold." Okay, that one's not true. That annoyed everyone, but we were used to it. What I didn't like was her coming up to me and hubby one day and saying this. After some pleasantries, she went and did what she always does, making snide comments. "Must be nice making so much money on stolen land. You should be nicer to me. I'm not suing." I was seeing red. How dare she make this comment after what she has done? At this point, I knew I could have her tongue-tied by showing her grandpa's property papers. But after that incident, I decided I would make it much, much worse for her. She expected me to just roll over and treat her as some gracious savior for letting us use our land. Her whole ploy was based on me being some dumb Barbie who wouldn't know the law, but she underestimated me. I feel like I may be the AH here, because I remember this thought running in my head. Okay, OP, let's wait until the most humiliating moment to air this dirty laundry. Dinner was a few hours away, and I was feeling petty. So after the turkey was carved and we all sat down, I planned to slowly make small comments about Deborah selling off her ranch and how that got me curious about the history of the property. And well, all of that went flying out of the window. What happened was Deborah making yet another snide comment directed at my husband, innocently saying that she expected a big gift for Christmas, and I snapped. I mean, full on smashed down my cutlery and screamed, "Listen up! The only gift you're getting from me is a lawsuit. I have papers from Grandpa's property that prove that both our plots are treated as one unit. And if that's the case, you freaking idiot, then selling off your ranch for oil is a big problem. And I'm going to make it into one for you." It looked like I'd slapped her across the face. It was hilarious. My sister had no idea I knew about this little loophole and was just opening and closing her mouth like a fish. Without saying a word, she got up and started to leave. During all of this, the whole family was in a mess, taking sides, telling me to calm down, and since they didn't know what the issue was about, just being nosy in general. I shouted at Deborah to the driveway, and once she drove off, I told the entire family about what she had done. Once they knew, they were just as mad as me, and Dad was ready to disown her. I know that if I had approached Sis quietly before dinner, none of this would have happened. And while I do kind of hate her guts right now, I don't want her to be cut off from the family forever. So, Reddit, AITA? Update. So it seems Deborah left for New York and lawyered up. The same relative who helped me out earlier said he can help out too, and she doesn't have a leg to stand on. It seems like we'll be taking this to court. Update 2. Guys, the court proceedings have been going on for a month now, and it's looking like it's in our favor. The oil company that Deborah sold the land to approached us to settle out of court so they could continue their mining without less hassle. And oh boy, they're throwing a lot of money our way. I might take up this offer, but I'll let you know what happens as the case goes on. Update 3. So we did end up taking the settlement and Mama's getting herself a new John Deere. The case is closed, but Deborah ended up eating away most of her money in legal fees and from what I heard, reached out to Dad for a loan to put her savings back in check. I also read a lot of your comments and you all are right. I shouldn't be that concerned for her. So I don't care what my family wishes to do about my sister, but I'm going NC. ESH. You do suck a little because I feel like the whole call-out made this take a turn for the worse. And even if most of the comments disagree with me, she is still your sister. She's an AH, but maybe you could have helped her see that in a less combative way? NTA. And as a lawyer myself, you're in the clear. I think your sister ended up digging a hole for herself by lawyering up instead of trying to resolve it with you. And yeah, you should probably not worry about your sister as much as you do. She kind of has it coming to her, IMAO. Next story. So, to make a long story short, I, 28, female, am getting married tomorrow. My dad is not insanely rich or anything, but is pretty well off, more so than the average person. He's 69 years old and is dating a 23-year-old woman. They've only been together for 4 months, but already she's moved in with him and they're engaged. I know that she's with him for his money, and I knew it from the start. This isn't typical daddy's little girl jealousy or anything. She is genuinely just with him for his money. I've even asked her before if she thinks she would be with my dad if he couldn't support her the way he does, and she literally said no. He's always buying her shit, and I'm currently paying for her college. She threatens to leave him if he doesn't buy her the things she wants every time she wants it. The whole thing is a nightmare. It would be different if she were at least nice, but she isn't. When I first met her, I wasn't indifferent with her at all. I actually tried really hard to be nice, but right off the bat, she was a passive-aggressive and rude to me. I've caught her wearing my deceased mom's jewelry and clothes before, and all she says is, "What? They're mine now," which pisses me the frick off. I used to have a family birthday party at my dad's house every year, but this year I didn't get to have one because this bitch didn't want me to, which was really disappointing. She went as far as to tell him I wasn't welcome in their home anymore after only meeting me 3 times, and since then, my contact with my dad has died down significantly. She's never been nice or even civil with me. Maybe if she were, I wouldn't care as much because I know that my dad is grown and can make his own decisions, but she's taking advantage of him because he's vulnerable and has been sad and lonely since my mom passed and is looking to fill the void somewhere. Long story short, I told him I wanted him at my wedding, but she couldn't come to either the wedding or the rehearsal because I didn't want her bad attitude to ruin my day. He got upset with this and it caused a minor argument, but he eventually folded, saying he wouldn't bring her, and I thought that was the end of it. However, yesterday they showed up to the rehearsal together. I was pissed as I had deliberately told him not to bring her, and my reasoning for doing so. I didn't want drama, so I discreetly pulled him aside and told them that he could stay, but she needed to go. My dad tried to convince me to let her stay, but I told him we already hashed this out beforehand. He got mad and they ended up leaving. That night she texted me letting me know that my dad would not be walking me down the aisle, and this is only a result of my own immature actions. This obviously breaks my heart because I love my dad with my whole heart, But when I called him to ask, he confirmed what she said. I'm honestly so depressed about the whole thing and regret it, but at the same time, there has to be a point when I stand up for myself against her. AITA? Edit. The official ceremony starts in about an hour, and my uncle's going to be walking me down the aisle. Oh, that's just gross. The age difference is pretty stark, but the real issue is your father's behavior. Trying really hard to understand what he could possibly see in her, other than the obvious, that would be worth cutting his daughter out. Your dad is the AH, as is SM. Your dad has allowed her to marginalize you and cut out your relationship. It sounds like he's pretty set on burning this bridge. Normally, I would say it's not good to expressly exclude a significant other, but she's toxic. AFNTA. Let me break it down for you. Something else is more important. That's how it goes here in AITA. And in the conflict in general, two people who are in disagreement about what matters more. To you, respecting your mother's memory and the family bond is more important. To your father, his new wife is more important. Do not invite him and expect him to respect and abide by anything so long as the new wife wants something in conflict with your requests. He has already made that very clear when he broke an agreement with you for her. You are not more important to him, she is. So why waste your special day fretting over someone who can't even spare the energy to do the same over you? Doesn't matter who it is, father or not. You will learn how, little, you are valued by him and decide whether you agree with it. Make that day today. Treat yourself better than he treats you. NTA. Next story. I have an income. I make $800 to $1,000 a month, but it's while doing a hobby, not a real job. So here's the deal. Pre-virus, I worked as a med tech and I had been working there for 4 years. I made great money because of how much overtime I worked weekly. It was not a choice I made to work that much. We had a policy where if someone called out, you were not allowed to leave unless you found coverage for the shift that someone else abandoned. This was because it was only me and one other CRMA on the floor for over 200 residents and they needed meds, but no one else was qualified. Usually the only people who could cover was management and they just outright refused 24/7. So I got stuck there nearly every single day to cover. During this time, my fiance didn't work. Someone needed to stay home with the kids. Well, I caught the virus from work and was out 14 days unpaid. When I came back, I was told to turn in my badge and leave. They got me for job abandonment because I didn't call in every single day. I was awarded wrongful termination compensation but refused to return after that. Currently, my fiance works 2 jobs by his own choice. He comes home the other day completely burnt out. I get that. I was that person, so I understand. But he took it at this moment and decided to lash out and tell me I needed to get a real job because him working 2 jobs isn't what he fricking wants. It's not what I want either, but here's the thing. We are down to 1 vehicle. He totaled his. Schedule clash. No one will be here to get the kids off the bus. They are young, etc. So I told him that I would not be getting a real job unless changes were made. Either we get a second vehicle and he stops using mine, because I will not be getting the kids up at 4:30 a.m. to drive him to work, going back to get the kids on the bus, leaving work early to get the kids off the bus, and then going back out an hour later to collect him from work, an hour and 20 minutes away every single day. He finds a way to get the kids off the bus or pays for a daycare, which we cannot afford. His words. He won't, though. We don't have the means to, so it's not an unreasonable refusal, but we truly cannot do it. We have no friends in the area. All family lives out of state, so we have no chance at getting help with the kids, and it's not like I don't have an income. But he thinks I'm just sitting around having fun while he busts his ass, and that's not the case. But he has resorted to saying I'm living the high life when he is bending backwards. I've also tried applying for at-home positions, but that pisses him off because he thinks I'm going to become isolated and depressed from lack of socialization. AITA? So, when you worked away from home and he was home with the kids, not making hobby money, and with a vehicle of his own, it was fine. Now that he's working away from home and you're staying home with the kids, making a bit extra, and have no vehicle, it's not NTA at all. NAH. But you do have to have a talk with your fiance about how to make each of you working possible. The whole job sounds downright abusive. WTF would someone with COVID have to call in each and every day? I mean, there is a set time frame for how long one needs to be out. I mean, it has been altered at different times during the pandemic, but the current policy at the time was no mystery. And as for if some coworker calls in and it becomes your problem, that's BS. That's something management should be dealing with, not putting on you. Stay tuned for more stories from Our Girl Relationships.